Okay, class, welcome to another session. Today we have Matt Dobrovolsky, and he is going to talk to us about his fandom with Disney, his work with the company, um, his work in Galaxy's Edge at Hollywood Studios at Walt Disney World. And he's also going to talk to us about kind of a wide swath of Star Wars related issues and get his views on Star Wars because he also runs DarthVader92.com, in which he posts content about the parks, about Star Wars, the franchise, and everything on YouTube as well. So he will be here to kind of walk us through some of the things with the parks, but also with Star Wars. So without me speaking too much more, I want to welcome Matt and thank you for coming. Thank you for doing this. And could you give us a little bit of background as to how you became a fan of Disney, what started that, and then lead us up to today on how you got to work for the company?
Well, I think my obsession with Disney, I could even put it that way, really began when I was like an infant because my parents always told me I love the Disney toys and everything like that. I grew up with the Disney movies, Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. That was my childhood. And falling in love with even the old classics back then too, Snow White and Pinocchio. I can't tell you how many times when I was sick at home, apparently I always wanted to watch Pinocchio. Never really understood why, but it was a good movie, obviously. And I can vividly remember my very first trip to Walt Disney World. I was 3 years old, and I remember we were staying at the Wilderness Lodge. Now, I mean, one can't really remember much at that age, 20 something years later. But all I can remember was two things. Number one, I remember looking out the balcony of Wilderness Lodge and seeing Pocahontas walking around. And I can also remember the old Legend of the Lion King stage show that they had in Magic Kingdom where Mickey's PhilharMagic is now. Those are the only two things that stuck in my mind up to this point in my life now. And it's just, there's an emotional connection, I think, everyone develops when you go to Walt Disney World or Disneyland for that matter too. There's something that connects us and it never leaves decades later. I found myself always going there when I was a child. I was so excited to plan when I got into like my teenage years to just, I had to do everything. I wanted to make sure I got everything done. And then it came to the point where, I had to start up college and I said, what did I really want to become? I was thinking that in high school and I said, Disney just came right to my mind. And I loved the theme parks up to that point even more because I was watching the operations and everything like that. And something just started clicking in me saying, I wanted to be the magic maker. I wanted to be a cast member. I wanted to make magic for people just like I had as a child growing up. So I said, where is the best place that I can go to learn about theme parks? And you think to yourself, there really isn't like a place that says, hey, we teach theme parks. Okay. We teach operations. You would think, okay, let me go into like business administration or something like that. Until I found the University of Central Florida down here in Orlando, conveniently, right? It's right there in Orlando. And they had a specialized track in hospitality management for theme park and attraction management. And I said, that's my school. I immediately said, that's my school. I need to go. And, I worked my butt off in high school as much as I could. Didn't really get the grades that they wanted me to have. I hate standardized testing, so I hated the SATs. So I went and did 2 years of community college back in New Jersey and got even better grades there. And lo and behold, finished my 2 years at UCF at the Rosen College of Hospitality Management, getting that specialized track in theme park and attraction management. and got that coveted, graduated with honors from there. So that was, a dream come true. And of course, when I came down here to Orlando, I said, I obviously have to start full time with Disney. I had already been working with Disney already, because when I turned 18, I realized, okay, that's when I can actually work for Disney, was 18. And we had a new Disney outlet opening at our local mall in Paramus, New Jersey. And I said, I could work there. They're hiring. So they said, we can't hire you yet because you're not 18. But the second I turned 18, I will remember this to the day I die. I walked in on my 18th birthday, said, hi, can I fill out an application? And it was about 2 weeks later, and I got a call for an interview. And they basically hired me right on the spot. So that was perfect. And it was a dream come true, because, I was starting my Disney career already at the age of 18. I did that for 4 months. And then while I was in community college, I found out about the college program. So I came down here for 4 months to do the college program. I was working quick service food and beverage at Port Orleans French Quarter. So I got to learn how to make beignets before I met my wonderful wife from New Orleans. And went back to that Disney store after the program for another 2 years. When I came down here for UCF, I then started my dream working with attraction operations at the brand new FastPass Plus kiosks at the time when my Disney experience started up. Did that for a couple of months, and then I got a chance to go over to Epcot to work Mission Space, Test Track, and Spaceship Earth. And then I got wind of all the Star Wars stuff that started coming to the parks. And Star Wars has been my fascination since, goodness, at least about 2000 or so. So I was about 8 years old when I started really having a fascination with Star Wars. And this was, we know 2012 was when George Lucas signed over Star Wars to Disney, and they were starting to bring all the stuff to the parks and everything. This was before Galaxy's Edge was even really a thing. And they brought this new attraction called Star Wars Launch Bay to Hollywood Studios. It was just this nice little walkthrough. You could see props of Star Wars. There was a theater that showed a little behind the scenes film, and you had the character meet and greets. As soon as I saw that they were hiring for that, I was like, yeah, I got to start my Star Wars stuff now. So I got the wonderful opportunity to interview over there, and I got hired for opening team for that. Was working there for a few months, and then I got a chance to stay at Hollywood Studios there to go to Star Tours, the attraction. In that area that we had there, I also got to work Muppet Vision 3D, as well as the Jedi Training Trials of the Temple. And at the time, we also had another film showing there called Star Wars Path of the Jedi. So at that point, I was working I've worked all the Star Wars attractions in all of Hollywood Studios, and it had only been about a year of getting over to Hollywood Studios. So when it came time that Bob Iger came out on that D23 Expo stage, which I was there for, and I lost my mind when he said, we're building this immersive themed land all to Star Wars. And I said, oh, I got to work this thing. I got to work it. And lo and behold, when they started hiring for Galaxy's Edge, I got hired in for the most ambitious attraction ever created in any theme park in the world, Star Wars Rise of the Resistance. And it has been a massive dream come true.
Well, and thanks for sharing that. And congratulations on the graduating with honors from UCF, the Rosen College. I've spoken to a few people from the Rosen College, and it is like I've kind of talked to them about yeah, if you want to work in theme parks, I mean, the college is right down the road from Universal, about 10 minutes from Disney. It's
actually also right around the corner from SeaWorld,
yeah.
Like to the point where our apartments are on campus. When I was walking down the stairwell, we have this big glass window. You can look through the window and you can see Kraken from SeaWorld, the big roller coaster. So I was like, yeah, this is the place I need to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you go, if that's what you want, my goodness, there's so many different things there for opportunities. So congratulations on that. And your kind of journey to being a fan and knowing that you said you wanted to be the magic maker or a magic maker, and you wanted to work in the theme parks for and be a cast member for the company, is fascinating. You talked about being in the college program and learning how to make beignets. Um, the when you when when you started working with Star Wars and the different Star Wars properties, um, kind of what was your experience early on in learning about not only working with the company and working with those attractions, um, but were there things about Star Wars that you found you had to kind of catch up on? You had to learn more things, or some of the, I guess, behind the scenes things that a lot of fans don't know.
Right.
What was your experience starting out working on those properties?
Oh, I only really knew Star Wars with the original films. One, the prequels 1 through 3, the originals 4 through 6. Um, I knew about Clone Wars, which was the animated TV series on Cartoon Network, which
Mhm.
I watched. I didn't frequent it. Uh, you know, when Star Wars was just, this popular thing that, everyone loved and everything, prior to Disney acquiring it, it was just this thing like, hey, I like this. This is fun. But once Disney acquired it, just my fascination grew and grew and grew.
Mhm.
Just because too, Disney was coming out and pumping out more and more things. Even more so now with like the Mandalorian and everything. Um, it's just it was a fascinating journey to see me growing up, like just being like a little tiny thing in the universe in terms of Star Wars, like just knowing a little bit, and then just them expanding on it. Um, I never ended up playing like Knights of the Old Republic or anything like that when I was a kid. So, learning about that too, it was fascinating. And I realized that when I got into like the Star Wars attractions and everything, more so at Launch Bay, because, who did they hire for opening team? Diehard Star Wars fans,
Mhm.
of course. Even more so with Galaxy's Edge, in my opinion. They really brought the cream of the crop in, if you will. And there were people that I'm like, wow, these guys are even more crazier with Star Wars than I am. And they knew stuff that I didn't even know. So it was fascinating to learn more about it and just diving deeper into the Star Wars universe.
Yeah. And you said that they hired like massive Star Wars fans for Launch Bay, and I remember going to Launch Bay the first time my oldest son now. The first time he went with us, we went to Launch Bay, and actually we have is a really cool story. One of the most memorable stories I have from there and from that trip is him and I were walking. We had shirts, like I had made shirts that had the Rebel logo on it with the Jedi logo, and I think it said like our family Legion or Rogue, or I can't remember exactly what it was. And so we're walking, and I'm pushing him in a stroller, and two stormtroopers come up, and they start to interrogate us. And but immediately, I look down, and my oldest son, um, he was really young at that time, and he starts getting upset, and immediately the stormtroopers just automatically say, okay, you like basically you need to give us a warning, let us know if you see anything, and they're out of there. The whole interaction was 30 seconds. And to me, as a Star Wars fan, I was thinking, I just got stopped by the First Order. That's really cool. Like that's something that I think fans think about a lot. What would you do in these situations? What would you do in these like fantasy situations? And but then as a father and also as a fan of the company and the parks, appreciating the people who, the cast members who were working that situation, recognized immediately this situation could be very bad for this young child. We're changing course. We're getting out of here. And so like it gave me as a fan, it made me feel good. It made me feel cool. As a father, I mean, is, you know, just almost made me tear up
Right.
at just kind of how thoughtful everyone was and how good that situation was. And now we still, and you talked about how much do you really remember from those early years. You know, we tend to remember things through pictures and what other people tell us. Like my oldest son and I will talk about that every once in a while. Hey, remember when we got stopped by the First Order? And, you know, at his age, he obviously is remembering from what I'm telling him. But when you said the the company hired Star Wars fans for Galaxy's Edge, it gave me this. It made me think of almost like cosplay. Do you think? Would you consider working in Galaxy's Edge for people who are big Star Wars fans? Do you think that's almost like cosplay for cast members who are big Star Wars fans and also being able to work there and tell that story?
I would say 150% yes. Uh, one of the, I mean, it's no secret that one of the things that they told cast members to do in Galaxy's Edge was create your own story. You know, we were tasked with the idea of you are a citizen of Batuu, the planet that you're on in Galaxy's Edge, in the Black Spire Outpost, which is the land, and you are creating this persona for yourself. You are from a village or a town and on the rest of the planet, like Pika, which was where I was from, and you were tasked with the idea of developing your own story. And it was fascinating to, you know, kind of play that off with guests in that mindset too. So 150%, I 150% agree that yes, they wanted us to cosplay, really. Even to with the point of the costumes in Galaxy's Edge, there are multiple variations to the costumes that, you know, a regular village person in Batuu could wear. Not with the exception of the attractions at Smuggler's Run or Rise of the Resistance, which we can dive into. But, you know, we had like 4 different shirts we could put on. We had 2 or 3 different types of pants we could wear. We had all these accessories that we could put on too. You know, I remember wearing this like really cool like shawl thing all over my shoulders and everything. I'm like, dang, where else can you wear something like this and actually fit in?
Yeah.
So it really was cosplay to the extreme.
Yeah.
And we all had fun with it. We still have fun with it to this day.
Well, and that's, you know, like the stories that are told on in Galaxy's Edge. And I can just imagine anyone who grew up watching Star Wars, playing with their action figures or playing with Legos and trying to recreate scenes or, you know, kind of go off the script of the movies, because that's when I was growing up, that's all there were, the movies, and sort of do your own thing. I could see, I mean, it would be a dream come true that now this is your job. You are doing this for other guests or for the guest, and the guests are in turn, because of that, they're allowed to live out kind of their fantasy of being in this world, being in the Star Wars universe, being on this planet. I remember when they first announced Galaxy's Edge, and then as details started to trickle out, the announcement that this is going to be a new planet. This isn't going to be, you know, kind of, for lack of better terms, this isn't going to be a museum. You're not going to Tatooine and seeing that, because that's what Star Tours is.
Right.
you're not going to see the things that have already happened. Yes, they will be mixed in there, but you're going to see these new storylines. And I remember what was the, from your perspective, what was some of the reaction of fans to that? That it was going to be something new that would be kind of created. It wasn't going to harken back to what people remembered about Star Wars.
Well, I think most of the fans were interested. They weren't like, "Oh my gosh, we need to see this." They were interested because this has never been done before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you look at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and you say that really was Disney's response to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and Universal. And that was just stepping into the world of Harry Potter and reliving those
Mm-hmm.
memories. Whereas Disney took the complete opposite direction with Galaxy's Edge by saying, we want you to live your own story on this brand new planet that we're going to create and this original storyline we're going to create. And I'm like, wait, this could be really interesting. And I remember there were rumblings all over the internet in the beginning where they were saying, yeah, we might just do like Tatooine or something like that. And we could put this here. We could do like this big e-ticket attraction or something like that. And then it just started morphing into these ideas that we want you to live your own story and we want to create this original environment. And I think that idea just grew and grew and grew. And lo and behold, we got this incredible land out of it.
Yeah. And I remember my first reaction was thinking, well, I kind of want to see Luke's X-Wing, and I kind of want to see this other stuff. I'm going to get to see the Millennium Falcon, which is by far the most important ship to me in the Star Wars universe. And the first time I saw, or when we went to Galaxy's Edge, and I saw that, the second time I saw it, tears came to the eyes. The first time I saw it, there was going to be this big unveil. It was going to be that moment that, I was going to be able to share with, we have two boys now, my two young boys. When we're walking up, they hear the music, it starts frightening them. And then they see a stormtrooper and they start to get pretty upset. So we're kind of doing, the fast, like I felt like it was almost like European vacation where you're just, hey, look, there's the Millennium Falcon. Let's get to Toy Story Land. Later in the day, everybody was a little more excited about it. But so when you have, since Galaxy's Edge is open, you have been a Batuan, you have also been Resistance, and then you've been First Order officer. How is it kind of, first I'll ask, what's it like making the transition between all of those? Because I'm at, like on Rise of the Resistance, do you know kind of week to week what role you're going to be playing? Or is it like you get a schedule on a Sunday and Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to be this, Thursday, Friday, I'm going to be this side?
It's the latter there. So
Okay.
it's the idea of, I know when I'm coming in, if I'm going to be Resistance or First Order for that day. In terms of the transition, going from that Batuan citizen of just, walking around and telling my story and, helping people out with wandering the land, more going from that to Resistance, that was easy because you're keeping the same persona and you're still being friendly with the guests. Being that First Order officer, though, that is one of the most challenging things I've ever had to do in my life, because you are literally going from this happy person to the most serious person and creating this intimidation.
Yes.
It is so hard to do that. And really, in all honesty, another big factor to us as First Order officers is improv.
Mm-hmm.
We really have to come up with things on the spot and play along with the guests. And it's been fun to do that. It really is. I had the dream always of working at like Haunted Mansion or Tower of Terror or something like that, being that sulky person, just beckoning you to, you know, your doom or whatever. But you know, we don't really talk about that at, you know, Disney. That's not something that we really do. And then actually having the opportunity to kind of do that as First Order,
Yeah.
it's been incredible.
Yeah. And you know, it seems like working for a company like Disney, it is all about customer service and it is all about the guests. And then watching the videos, and I think I may have even seen a video of you as a First Order officer interacting
Probably.
with people. It's almost like you turn off this always wanting to help people, always wanting to help find, you know, where the attraction is, where the restrooms are, when the next show, things like that, or interacting in this kind of positive way. And then now, yes, like you said, you have to be this intimidating factor, or intimidating figure, who in essence, you are not there, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're not there to help the guest. You're there, or the guest is there because you're interrogating them as the story
Right.
goes.
You know, and I don't want to come off as, you know, the show is the most important thing. You know, if I still have someone that comes up to me, you know, as a First Order officer, and they're worried about the ride,
Mm-hmm.
they're worried, like, you know, am I going to get sick off this? You break everything.
Yeah.
You break everything and say, this is going to be a trackless dark ride. You have a quick lift. You have, I'm not actually going to say it because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But you know, it's no secret that we've had 4 keys to the Disney cast member: safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency, in that order. Now with our 5th one being inclusion. Safety is number 1 to us. So, and as well as the courtesy to the guest over the show. Okay. So if I can see someone's not really enjoying it, like you were just describing earlier with the stormtrooper, I'm going to break it immediately and say, this guy doesn't want it.
Yeah.
This guy doesn't want that full immersion and stuff like that. All right, I'll back off, and I'll just, you know, I'll be a little intimidating. I'm not going to, like, you know, get right up close to you or
Yeah.
something like that and really freak you out, because there aren't that many Star Wars fans like us. You know, we can't cater to the Star Wars fan that, you know, I'm going to joke with this, but the one that lives like in their mother's basement or something like that. You know, we can't beckon always to that Star Wars nerd, because we are this Star Wars attraction, but we still have to have that Disney level of guest service. So I'm going to break character if I see that you're having a rough time and you really don't want to play along with me. But if you want to play along with me, oh, we're going to have some fun.
Yeah. And I'm glad you put it that way. You put it much better than I could have asked the question, because that's exactly what I was trying to get at, is how do you balance kind of that story with, if someone is upset. And I found out, like, when we went to Galaxy's Edge, you know, I was telling my boys, this is like, there's the Millennium Falcon. That's what Han Solo and Chewbacca rode on. Like, that's what they fly. And I was telling them all this stuff, and same thing like with some of the other attractions at Disney. And then, you know, it is like with young kids, you kind of have to take a step back every once in a while and, like, okay, this is fantasy. Like, this isn't real. Nothing's going to harm you or anything like that. Like, we're not going to let that happen. So I'm glad you put it like that. And also, I can see that Galaxy's Edge is something that you are catering to those uber Star Wars fans, but you also have to cater to people who know nothing about Star Wars.
Right.
And maybe this is their introduction to Star Wars. So, which, before I transition over to kind of the other aspects of Star Wars, the one final thing, what is it like creating those experiences? What does it feel like creating those experiences for guests, whether it was when you were with the college program, whether you were in the other with the other parks, you were at uh, Launch Bay, now in Galaxy's Edge? Like, what is it, or how does it feel to know that you are creating the magic for someone else?
It's really a dream come true, and I'm not like trying to sugarcoat it or anything. You know, as I said earlier, I wanted to be this cast member to make magic for those people, just like the cast members in my childhood made for me. Uh, and I think it gives you that level of satisfaction that, you know, I've always said in terms of a business to a theme park, happy guest equals they're going to be yours for the rest of their lives. Okay. And that's what we've always had with Disney is we have those memorable experiences, memorable moments, and that's what gets us to keep going back year in and year out. And to the point that now I could do this with Star Wars to beckon that new generation. Because that's the other thing too, is you look back at, let's say like the early 2000s, we appreciated Star Wars for what it was. And now with what Disney has done with Star Wars, they have basically drawn in a new generation to Star Wars. Because in all honesty, if Disney didn't acquire Star Wars and Lucasfilm, the franchise would probably be pretty dead right about now, in my personal opinion. You know, you'd have the generation of like my parents still like beckoning me over to Star Wars, and I would fall in love with it. But was that going to be a lasting thing that I would pass on to the next generation of kids? Disney did that. And they helped bridge that gap. And now we have this amazing property that the next generation will continuously love. And it'll just keep passing down from generation to generation.
Well, and I'm that's a great segue, you talking about that, because first I want to, in our transition, I want to first ask you about, tell us a little bit about what DarthVader92 is and what you do with that, and how you kind of showcase the parks and talk about the Star Wars universe and everything.
Well, first off, DarthVader92 was my username for as long as I can remember.
Okay.
Because again, Darth Vader is my favorite character in Star Wars. I've always loved Anakin. I've always loved Vader. And just when I was able to just think of the mindset of Darth Vader 1992 was the year I was born. So it just mashed into that. And I was like, okay, this could work. This could work. I always had the mindset when I was living up in New Jersey and I couldn't go to the parks all the time, like I can now, that I wanted to be able to relive the parks whenever I could. Okay. So it all started really when I got my very first video camcorder from my parents on our first Disney cruise in 2001. My dad went off to St. Thomas and bought this really nice camera. And he was like, you know, I think it's time for you to have the old one. I was like, oh, okay. And, you know, I made goofy stuff with my friends back home with the camera, but I realized that it was you know, a couple of years later, I started realizing like, hey, I can really film the attractions for the most part to allow me to revisit that when I go home. You know, I never have to let the magic end, even temporarily for that matter. I can always, you know, it's like the idea of, oh, I'm going home, but hey, I've got the home movies to watch, you know? And I never really thought of it as home movies, really kind of until vlogging kind of came in. And it was like, okay, I guess this could kind of work. And then that idea just kind of grew even more when I started developing the YouTube channel, because it was the idea of I want people to relive that excitement seeing the incredible shaman animatronic on Navi River Journey and Animal Kingdom in Pandora. I want people to relive seeing the fireworks exploding behind the castle in Magic Kingdom. I want them to relive walking into Galaxy's Edge for the first time. It's just stuff like that that just piqued my interest. And I was like, I think I've got something with this. And people really fell in love with that idea, even more so, even just like 5 years ago or so when I started going into 4K Ultra HD with the camcorder, because it was the idea of, if I can let you relive it on this screen and see it just like how your eyes saw it, that's a win, in my opinion. So that's why I never like posting something that is in horrible quality. I see too many of these companies on YouTube that post the Disney stuff, whether it's something new or, you know, they're just refilming like It's a Small World or something like that. And the quality is just terrible. And I'm like, why would someone want to watch this? So that's why I made it a point to myself. It was never the idea of getting it out there right away, but taking the time and making sure that the quality was going to be incredible before it got posted to YouTube. So that idea just kind of came to fruition. And I mean, 160,000 subscribers on YouTube. I think I'm doing a pretty good job.
Yeah. And, you know, it kind of, it reminds me of what you said about like quality and everything. And this isn't necessarily quality with the people who were filming it, but I remember when Frozen Ever After first opened, and I tried to watch that, and I would show it in class because of what they were doing with kind of the facial projections and everything,
Right.
and kind of showing like, okay, here's sort of the transition of from, but I love the Little Mermaid ride, but you know, here's how Little Mermaid looks, here's how Ariel looks here. Now let's look at how Anna and Elsa look on this ride. And so I was constantly looking at different YouTube videos, and it was really hard to come across videos where the whole attraction was working, because early on, you know, it was having glitches and everything. And like you might get like to the scene where Olaf is skating and he's not skating, and you're like, oh,
right.
And then so like it's almost like you get through, or you might get to the very end, and like the snow monster doesn't, like, you know, blow smoke or something like
Well,
that.
like we actually had that because I was there for opening day. You know, I stood in line for 3 hours because it kept breaking down.
Yeah.
And then we get onto the ride, and you have that first Olaf animatronic that's like following you.
Yeah. And
it was just static right there. And I was like, wow, I'm kind of disappointed by that. But that was always my mindset too with the videos, is that I don't want to film something if something's not working properly.
Yeah.
If it's not working, I'm not going to post that.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait and come back another day and film it again. And, you know, everyone's saying like, oh, you do this for the money. I mean, that's like the minuscule thing, really. 9 times out of 10, my videos get dinged anyway on YouTube, and I can't make money off of it. Because that's another thing that a lot of people do, is they will cut up bits and pieces of the video just so in this way they can have the full monetization on it. And that was the first thing that I said was, no, I'm not doing that. You need to show them the true thing. Now, it's a different question if it wants to get blocked in 252 countries like it did for me a couple of times. That's irrelevant. It's the idea of people want to see the full thing. Let them see the full thing. If I make money on the side, I don't care. I want them to see the full thing.
Well, and, you know, I mean, what you and others do, like I've had John Sakari talk to the class, and I've had a few people talk to the class about who provide the content. I mean,
don't go follow bigfatpanda.com. Follow DarthVader92. He's gonna smack me later for that.
You're obviously doing it partially because you want to be able to watch it again, like you said. You can relive everything, but also I know everyone who does this knows there are people literally around the world who are following all of these videos and consuming these videos. I mean, when I'm working, I typically have something Disney related on in the background, whether it is YouTube and it's a walkthrough video of an attraction or a park, or I have The Mandalorian, something Disney Plus, Once Upon a Time on the TV while I'm working, things like that. So thank you for what you're providing for people, because it is, it's something that kind of helps people stay in the magic, if
Right.
you will.
It's what Walt said back when he made Disneyland. He wants people to be able to escape from reality.
Yep.
And that's kind of what I went in with the mindset of too, is just, I want you to be able to escape your actual reality, even if you're not at Disney World
Yeah.
or Disneyland, wherever, and just take a couple of minutes and just watch something from Disney World or whatever.
Yep. Yeah. So to look at Star Wars, to kind of transition to something else. I told you before we started recording, when I teach this class, what I have found is there's a great, or a vast majority of students in class, when I ask who is an MCU fan, hands go up all over the place. And I completely understand. I'm a new MCU fan, but man, I've really gotten into the MCU because of what they are doing. It's current, it's contemporary. It's, I mean, the stories they're telling are amazing. When I ask students, raise your hand if you consider yourself a Star Wars fan, out of 17, 18 students, I might have 3 or 4 raise their hand, which I grew up, I was born right before Return of the Jedi came out. So obviously I didn't see it for probably a few, I don't know how long, but I grew up with that original trilogy, not knowing really until later that was stories 4, 5, and 6. I just thought that's the Star Wars trilogy. And so I've become fascinated as to, I completely understand why why younger people are interested in MCU. And I kind of understand why maybe there's a lack of interest in Star Wars right now, because you had those long gaps between 4, 5, 6, and then you had what, 20 years or more than 20 years, but before 1, 2, 3, and then it was another 10 or 15 years before 7, 8, 9. So you kind of had these groups that would almost separate, and it was like, no, the original trilogy 4, 5, 6 better. No, 1, 2, 3 is better, depending on when people got into Star Wars. But I kind of wanted to get your views on, what do you think is the future of Star Wars? And you talked about kind of creating those memories for future generations. Is that the future of Star Wars? Is the future of Star Wars on Disney Plus with what they're doing with The Mandalorian, which the first season was amazing. The second season, every episode is just something completely new, right. Just taken to another level every week, it seems. Is that the future of Star Wars, you think? Or are they going to also have these big tentpole productions?
Personally, I think right now, their future, I mean, Disney's future, really to begin with right now, rests on Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. It's no secret that the pandemic has really hit the company hard. And personally, in my opinion, if they didn't have Disney Plus right now, the company would be in a really, really bad slump. Disney Plus is really pulling them, mm-hmm. pulling the company out of, utter destruction, in all honesty. So I think Disney Plus, we're going to see more of Star Wars there. And we already know that they're working on the Kenobi series, which I think that's going to be incredible. And I think tomorrow, during the Investor Day, where they're supposed to be talking more about Disney Plus, we may even hear more Star Wars stuff being announced, because I think it's this generation now of how much they have been brought in with Star Wars. more so my generation, because, you know, as I said earlier, Star Wars was almost kind of a dying cause, really, after Revenge of the Sith came out in 2005. You know, nobody really thought George would ever come in and do 7, 8, and 9, or if he even really had the idea of 7, 8, and 9. And it was like, okay, the story's over. All right, well, we have all these movies that we can watch, you know, for the rest of our lives and everything. But then when Disney basically came in and stepped in and said, we're buying them, and guess what? We're going to continue the story, and we're going to do more stuff with the parks, do more stuff with, you know, with Disney Plus now, and the merchandise, and, you know, food and beverage and stuff like that, even too, with Oga's Cantina and Galaxy's Edge. It just brought more people in. And I think that's how Disney needs to really be worrying about the future of Star Wars, is continuing these ideas, continuing these stories that we all grew up with, that we passed down now because of Disney onto this new generation. And now they're getting their Star Wars stories with 7, 8, and 9. They're getting their Star Wars stories with Galaxy's Edge. They're getting it with The Mandalorian, Rogue One, and Solo, and all that stuff. The future doesn't end here. There are so many possibilities of what they can do with Star Wars. And as long as it's a good story with unforgettable characters, everyone's going to love it.
Yeah.
And we saw that with The Mandalorian. They took this idea and just went crazy with it, and everyone's loving it.
And, you know, real quick on Galaxy's Edge, I appreciate Galaxy's Edge. So I've only been one time, but I appreciate it so much more now, knowing that all of the other content there is that plays into Galaxy's Edge, the books that have come out about different characters in Galaxy's Edge, the comics. I kept expecting season 1 of The Mandalorian. I kept expecting episode 7 or 8. He, for some reason, and I know it would be out of the timeline, but for some reason is going to land on Batu and have to visit Black Spire Outpost for some reason. And then the next day, when the company talks about synergy, there's a Mandalorian walking around with a baby Yoda interacting with people. And so when that didn't happen in the first season, it took a little bit, and I started to think, okay, it makes sense why maybe they're not doing it. They're building this larger story, and when you talk about The Mandalorian, it has just exploded this fandom. I mean, I think season 1 was, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was like the most watched show last year, like on anything. Right.
And even more so now with season 2.
And now with season 2, and I think I watched one season of Rebels. I sort of kept up with it, so I knew some of the characters, like, but now that they're starting to bring in these characters from the animated series, and they're bringing in, like, this isn't a spoiler show or anything. This is the students in the class who want to watch Star Wars will have already watched it. When they brought in Boba Fett last week, and it's that's why I say, like, every week it's just something new that I watch it, and when I'm finished, I'm like, what just happened? This is incredible.
Well, it's that story mindset with Boba Fett that we thought his journey ended with Return of the Jedi. And then it was these rumblings that, you know, what if he survived the Sarlacc pit? What if? And it just, that was the question, what if? And then they kept teasing it, and we were just like, nah, I don't think they'll actually really do that or anything. And then at the end of the first episode of season 2, where you see that hooded figure, you're just like, oh, maybe that's the Giancarlo Esposito's character. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And I was like, okay, maybe that. And then the character turns around, and it's Tamora Morrison, the one that played Jango Fett in episode 2, Attack of the Clones. And if you know the story, his son was born, Boba was born through the use of the clones. So it was basically supposed to be him in child form, and that he would grow into looking like Django again.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I think I disrupted my neighbors. Me and my wife disrupted our neighbors because we screamed so loud to that. And they just kept alluding to it like they were playing with us because we saw Boba's armor and it was just like, okay, you know, maybe they'll do this, maybe they won't. And then when you just see him, you just lose your mind. And that really is the point of season 2 right now. And I think that really is just drawing people in like crazy.
Well, and you take it back to season 1, episode 5, where you see the footsteps, and then that's, you know, that's the way episode what this latest one, episode 14, opened. It is kind of seeing that, or seeing the recap of that, so you understand what's going on. So forgive me, this is a very difficult question. I don't know if you can answer it. Of this season, it's like every week gets better, but is there a best episode this season in your opinion?
You know, you said it right.
I mean,
every episode is getting better. You know, I loved the first episode when we came back. You know, also me being a big tech junkie, I don't know if you noticed in the big battle scene of the first episode when the screen expanded.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, they're messing with the aspect ratio. No, Jon Favreau used an IMAX camera for that. I'm like, whoa. It just, you know, and a couple of episodes just felt like they were kind of put in because we need the time and everything. But the best episode to that point was Ahsoka coming in, Ahsoka Tano. And, you know, I think I squealed so many times in that episode with Ahsoka coming in, with them revealing Baby Yoda's name. And then at the very end when they said, where's Grand Admiral Thrawn? And if you have seen Rebels, my mind just went crazy.
Yeah.
And that was the best episode. And then they went crazier even more with bringing in Boba Fett the next one.
Yeah.
And that was now the best. I know tomorrow's episode is probably going to make me go crazy. Like,
well, and then, you know, if it follows what happened in season 1, like I'm kind of thinking, all right, are they introducing more characters this season? Because yeah, it would be amazing if they did. But I mean, they have Timothy Oliphant was amazing in episode 9. Right. Is he coming back? Is Cara Dune coming back? Because I mean, she made a appearance in this last episode. Are the other Mandalores coming back? Are we going to see Ahsoka? And it's like, you know, are these last 2 episodes? I try to go into it every week with absolutely zero expectations. But it is hard not to build expectations, especially with these last 2 episodes, because it's like, how are they going to tell the end of this season's story? And will the child Grogu, will he be safe by the end of the season, or is that going to be a cliffhanger? Because I
think they're going to get hit really hard. If like the end of last week's episode was a cliffhanger and we had to wait a year to find out, there'd be riots. Like, I could imagine, like, outside of Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni's house somewhere in California, there'll be pitchforks. Like, what's going on? And, you know, and I love that they had no idea how blown out of proportion the character Baby Yoda Grogu would turn into be. You know, I remember I was at D23 last year when they were, you know, Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, all the cast were up there on stage and they were talking about this, and they made no mention of Baby Yoda. They just said there's going to be something in the first episode that just reels everyone in. And I was like, okay, what are they trying to go for here? And after that first initial episode and you see Baby Yoda, it's just like, wait, what? And then it hooked everyone right there. It hooked everyone. And I don't think they knew how crazy, you know, all that merchandise that they have had to come out with at the parks. I don't think they knew that they were going to need to make all these spirit jerseys, all these plushes, all these little shoulder puppets that you could wear. Heck, I bought the little animatronic thing that
Yeah.
Hasbro made. And I love that thing. It's like a little fur baby.
Yeah.
Like,
The story, you talk about connecting to different or people from in different parts of their lives. The story of the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, becoming like a father figure, and like now having this attachment to the child, and we're at the end of the episode with Ahsoka Tano. He's like, when she says, well, there's another way, I can't train him, there's another way, he's like, all right, I'll take him. Like, don't twist my arm, I'll take him. Like, and and like just the moments of like the kind of baby Groot, and the scene of baby Yoda working in on the Razor Crest, harkening back to like Guardians of the Galaxy and the baby Groot scene,
right.
and like all of those things that it really does touch on or bring people in from many different areas or backgrounds, regardless of what part of life you find yourself in. It has been an amazing show, and it has been the thing that has got me interested in Star Wars again.
Right.
So to transition into our last segment, or before we do that, is there anything else you want people to know about working in the parks, or about what you do with Star Wars, and Darth Vader 92?
Really, I mean, if you haven't been able to tell over this last hour or so, it really is a dream come true to be working with Disney and just really creating these magical moments. Galaxy's Edge is like the biggest Star Wars fans' dream. And, what I hope, and we've discussed it, what I hope it can really be is that it can bring in this new generation.
Yeah.
Even more so. And even these people that don't really care about Star Wars. Maybe they will fall in love with this. I loved bringing my in-laws onto Rise of the Resistance a couple of weeks ago when they were here. My wife's mother loves Star Wars. She was in heaven when she walked into that hangar bay, as you can see behind you. My wife's father, on the other hand, the only character he really knows is Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Okay. And even then he calls him the big furry guy. Okay. So he doesn't know anything about Star Wars, but just, he really did enjoy it. Like, cause that really is the most ambitious attraction ever. And, I don't want to jump the gun, and maybe I actually reel them into Star Wars, but if that could really work to people, that's the most memorable part of your actual life that you could ever have.
Yeah.
I will also never forget too. It was a couple of days before we were opening, and we were previewing the attraction for the press and celebrities and everything, because we were the first one that opened in Orlando. And I'm standing where your background is there in the hangar bay, and the shuttle doors open, and Neil Patrick Harris walks out. His jaw is like almost on the floor. And as soon as he walked away, I was like, that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Seeing that reaction to guests, even to that point where you are now that cast member on a day-to-day basis, and you're walking into that shuttle for the first time, telling people that they've been captured by the First Order, and they just see the hangar bay behind you, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
That is the biggest pleasure that you could really have in your life, career-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's beautifully said. I'm really excited to ride it. I'm really excited to experience. I shouldn't even say ride it. I'm excited to experience it, because I know it's unlike anything else. And I don't know if, I think maybe it's a bit much to expect every new attraction to be like this, because this is like almost like a reset of what is going to come later.
Right.
But it definitely does change the future trajectory of what themed entertainment is, and kind of people's expectations and what companies are going to be able to do.
You know, you even said it right there. Look at what's coming to Disney. Look at what's coming to all these theme parks around the world.
Mhm.
It really doesn't seem anything can compare to this. The only thing that I think could potentially would be Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind at Epcot, because it sounds to me that that's going to be something never really been done before. I'm like, okay. And it dawned on me the other day when they made the announcement, Universal's trying to do it with the Mario Kart ride for Nintendo.
Yep.
That's going to be groundbreaking. And I've always said this, the competition between these theme parks, Disney and Universal, for example, it's tough on them because they got to create the next best thing to bring the people into their park. But the only one benefiting it really in the long run is us.
Yes.
Because we get this amazing stuff year in and year out.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for one day, you know, if I can get to Japan to ever ride the Mario Kart ride. But if anything, it looks like that's coming to Hollywood, and it's probably going to come to Epic Universe. For gosh sakes, Universal's the one that's actually making another theme park around here too. That's going to be incredible. We really would love a new theme park here, and I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I mean the relationship between the two, the competition between the two. I've written about it before and talked about it before. Is just, it is, you said, the people who benefit are the fans, or the people who go. To finish out, there's a few rapid fire questions that I have, and most of them are parks related. Being your background, being, or you being the Star Wars guy, I want to throw some other ones in there as well. You can explain these if you want. You don't have to explain anything if you want. Walt Disney World or Disneyland? What's your preference between the two?
Disneyland.
Disneyland?
Just because of that nostalgia, and that was the park that Walt visited. I don't want to say that they've got the best attractions, because we've got the best ones too, but just, I love walking around there.
Yeah. And I've heard that sentiment of this is where Walt walked and everything. And that's, I've never been. I want to go.
I mean, unfortunately, we can't go right now, but
yeah. Well, we were going to go
one day,
in May, and we were going to go there in May as well, on a conference, and then obviously couldn't. But yeah, I want to go and see like the studio tour and everything. Just being a big fan of the company, but so Disneyland or Walt Disney World, do you have a favorite park or a favorite gate?
Disneyland, definitely for out there on the West Coast. Here, it really does now have to be Hollywood Studios because of Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
You know, Epcot will always hold a special place in my heart because I loved what the original Epcot was. You know, they kind of took that in the different direction, what we know of in the late 90s and early 2000s. And it kind of like flew away from me. But what Epcot could become with the future that they're proposing there could really be the new #1 spot for me.
Yeah. Favorite ride? Any park?
Oh, I'm going to be biased, and I'm going to say Rise of the Resistance because it really is the most groundbreaking attraction. I mean, if I was out on the West Coast, though, I would have to probably say either their Pirates of the Caribbean versus ours, because ours is just way too short, or Indiana Jones out there.
And I've heard both. I've heard that both about Indiana Jones and especially Pirates out on the West Coast. Any property, West Coast in Florida, do you have a favorite restaurant?
Oh, West Coast. Goodness. Because I do love all the dining options out in California, for that matter. I would probably have to say it's a toss-up between Steakhouse 55, that's at the Disneyland Hotel, or the Lamplight Lounge that's at California Adventure for Pixar Pier.
All right.
For here in Florida, I've actually always said my favorite restaurant on property at Walt Disney World is not even Disney owned and operated. It's Il Molino over at the Swan and Dolphin.
Okay.
That is, I mean, I have a little bit of Italian in me. That's the best Italian food I've ever had in my life.
Okay.
And it's so reasonably priced and everything. And it's fresh too.
I've never been there. I'll have to try that when one of these next trips I can get back. I'll have to try to get there. Favorite treat in any of the parks? Go-to treat?
It'd have to be a Mickey bar.
And
now the fact that you can go to your local grocery store and get that for a lot less of a price. Yeah, definitely that.
That was always my choice. And now I think I have, after this, I think I have 2 waiting for me for a Target pickup. So
there you go.
Yeah, so Star Wars related, do you have a favorite episode or favorite movie? That could include the standalone movie, Solo, right, Rogue One. Or if it's too hard oh, sorry, go ahead.
It would have to be Last Jedi.
Okay.
All right. Because I know we were talking about this before we started, and you said, I really didn't care for Last Jedi. I'm the complete opposite. I really, really love that. I love the direction that Rian Johnson took with it.
Okay. Do you have if you expand it out to top 3, so you have Last Jedi as 1, what would be 2 and 3?
Return of the Jedi. Okay. That was always my favorite growing up. And Empire.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then finally, this could be in the parks. It could be traditional Disney. It could be any of the acquired properties, Pixar, Star Wars, or Lucasfilm, Marvel. Do you have a favorite character?
Oh. Okay. Lucasfilm with Star Wars, obviously Darth Vader. We said that earlier. Marvel. Never really thought about Marvel. I think it would have to be Groot.
Okay.
And I'm a little biased because we have our cat named Groot.
Okay.
So, it was kind of almost fate, really, because when we went to, I said, I don't want to name our cat Groot. I think that's a silly name to have. And then it was fate when we went to the adoption place and they brought out a cat named Groot. And I was like, okay, all right. For Disney, though, I've always said, for the majority of my life, when I was younger, I always loved Stitch for some reason.
Okay.
And even now to this day, I'm like, what was I on? Like, why was I thinking Stitch? And I only think of that because of the god awful Stitch's Great Escape that was in Magic Kingdom back in the day. I always loved the March Hare from Alice in Wonderland.
Okay.
The original Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know why. I always loved that character.
And for people who want to, students or listeners who want to follow you, what's the best way to follow you or find you on social media?
Definitely try and follow me through Twitter at DarthVader92 for that. And then obviously, if I've piqued your interest with my YouTube channel, DarthVader92.com, head on over there for that as well. I have a personal Facebook group, a page for myself. I try and stay clear of having like fans and everyone that like me because of, Disney and stuff like that. I try and stay clear of them on my Facebook because that's really like my personal friends, my families, the people that I know all the time. So if anything, I would tell you Twitter at DarthVader92.
Okay. All right. And then, so thank you for doing this today. This was awesome. Thank you
for having me, Cody.
Yeah, thanks. And thanks for telling your story, working for the company, kind of piquing my interest again and getting to talk about Star Wars a little bit. I really, really appreciate it. And I would just end by saying, I've never lived in Orlando. I've never been a cast member. I fully appreciate what cast members do, and think it would be amazing to be, as you said, be a magic maker. What an amazing experience that is. And so thank you for doing that. Thank you for sharing that with everyone, um, at the parks and everyone who attends. And then thanks for sharing your story about all of that today. Thank you.
Thanks again.
Bye.